Today, I wanted to have a little chat with you about stress in the workplace because we often kind of push down all of our emotions when we're going through a rough time in our relationships. And sometimes work can be the straw that breaks the camel's back, or sometimes work can be your sanctuary from what's going on at home. I know for me, it was my sanctuary. Um, it's very easy to get sucked into a whirlwind of stress, and sometimes it's very obvious to people outside of the situation, but when you're in it, it's really hard to pull your emotions out of that situation and take a look at it from a distance to see what's exactly causing you stress. So there's a few hints and tips that I'd like to give you today. So the first thing I would say is if you have a situation with a coworker or an employer that is demonstrating inappropriate behaviour in the workplace, then you need to document and you need to report. Okay, so that goes without saying. So any issues like that, document and report, please do, because that may be your saviour. If they try and blame something on you, then if you've got documentation and you've already reported them, then it's a lot easier to disprove what they're alleging, as long as it's not true. And the next thing to think about is what are you actually doing at work? So, are you overcompensating at work because you feel that whatever you're doing at home is inadequate? So, that means that you are working later, working longer hours, working um, trying to be everything to everybody, but forgetting about yourself. So the first thing that I want you to do when you're getting into a situation at work, when you're getting kind of stressed and het up, is breathe. And there's a thing called box breathing. So you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. And you keep repeating that until your stress levels start to come down. There's another thing that you need to do, which is hydrating. So if you're dehydrating, that can oftentimes exacerbate the situation if you're not feeling great as well. So make sure that you keep hydrated. So that's kind of like, in my case, unlimited cups of tea, as many as I can possibly drink. If I had a chance, I would line them up like a conveyor belt, to be honest, but they won't let me do that. I don't know why. But instead of that, then make sure you've got your water bottle with you. You know, just keep it topped up and just keep drinking throughout the day. Just keep chilling. And another thing to do when you're getting het up is to just take a break. To just, if you're in a meeting with somebody and it's getting out of control, then you can say, "Can you just give me a moment? I'm just going to step out for a moment. I've just got something I need to deal with." That's if it's with people at the same level as you. If it's somebody like your boss or a senior person at work, then you can say, "I'm sorry, I really need a bathroom break," or "Can you just excuse me for just one moment? I just need to just calm." And that shouldn't be a problem because any reasonable person wouldn't have an issue with that. If they have an issue with that, then obviously you're in a whole different situation there. But generally, when we overstress ourselves at work, it's normally because we feel that there's some inadequacy that we feel that we have to try and resolve by working harder, working more, just putting more in, being the person on the team that is doing everything so that nobody else gets to claim credit or be better than you. That normally comes from feeling not enough. And you are enough. You're perfectly enough. If you weren't enough, you wouldn't have got the job. So just relax and know that you are absolutely fine to carry on doing your job because you are enough. You are good enough. They wouldn't have hired you. So you go to work, you do your job, you come home. If you're lucky enough at the moment, you go to work in another part of the house, you do your work and you walk into the other part of the house when you finish work, but with lots of breaks in between. Another thing that you should do is get up and move on a regular basis, even if it's every hour, just for a few minutes. Just get up and do a lap around the room. You know, do a lap around the garden, do a lap around the building. on that floor, wherever it is that you're working, you need to keep moving because you need to keep the blood flowing. Because if you sit for too long, then everything starts to stagnate, and you'll find that it's not healthy at all for your body. So, stress in the workplace is sometimes caused by our own feelings of inadequacy. Sometimes it's caused by our misinterpretation of a situation. And one of the easiest things to do there is to go back to the person that has put forward that situation and ask for clarification. And just say, oh, do you mind just running that past me again? Because I think I missed a bit of it. Make up an excuse. They don't need to know. Just ask them to just clarify exactly what it was that they're asking, and then be clear on their expectations. And then once you're clear on those expectations, then you will know whether or not you can actually adhere to those results that they're looking to achieve, if you can actually achieve them. Because it's all about mindset. It's 10% strategy and 90% mindset. So if you are struggling with something, then you will go into a downward spiral of thinking, I can't do this, this is impossible, this is a nightmare, I don't understand it, why are they doing this to me? And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you are having a mindset issue, then you have the option to talk to people. There will be people at your work that you can talk to, whether it be a co-worker or a boss or a supervisor. It will be somebody there that you can actually talk to. And I think the worst thing that we do as human beings is clam up. So the worst thing we can do when we're hurting inside is to keep silent when we are in a safe space. So when you're with your manager or your supervisor and they're doing a one-to-one, or they're doing a meeting with you, or there's issues with your performance, whatever, just be honest with them. Tell them what's going on in your life. Because I know that after my big event that happened, where the police were involved, I went to work the next day. Nobody had a clue what was going on. Nobody had a clue. And it took me about a week to tell them. And that was my form of self-preservation. Was I working at my best that week? Not a hope in hell. Was there something wrong with me that others could see? Absolutely. Were they going to raise it with me? Not a chance. They did not want to ask me what was wrong because they were scared of what was happening. They didn't know. Plus I was the boss, so it was a bit difficult for them. But I think it's really important from a management point of view that if you have problems at home, then you talk to somebody at work and you make them aware of it. So one of the things that I talked to my colleagues about when I was at work and I was going through some significant fear, I talked to them about, my fears. I talked to them about what I was scared about. And they couldn't fix it. Of course they couldn't fix it. But what they could do is listen to me. And they understood my situation and they cut me some slack if I needed some slack cutting. So if you don't talk to people about it, how can you ask them to help you? Because you're trying to go through this journey all alone. And you're trying to, it's a journey called life. You're trying to get through your life and you're shutting out the people that can help you, but you're letting in the person that is hurting you. Which, when you look at it that way, doesn't make sense. So you need to start letting the people that can help you. And if that means that you have to take phone calls during work time because you're trying to make a safe exit plan, then they'll normally work with that. You can do it in your lunch break. You can do it in a tea break, whatever. If it means that you are staying on at work, supposedly, for an extra hour, that extra hour could be spent at the office, not actually doing office stuff, but doing your stuff, creating a safe exit plan, dealing with anything that needs dealing with that you really can't deal with at home because it's not safe to do so. Let me have a look and see what else I had written down for my thingy bobby. Not being very clear today. Thingy bobby is not really very clear, is it? When I'm talking about my top tips for staying stress-free in the workplace. See, free, can't speak, words are all gone. So I'm just going to pull it up again and have another little look and make sure I've covered it all. So we've covered hydration, we've covered moving about, we've covered I don't know what. We haven't covered listening to your favourite song. Sometimes listening to a podcast or listening to some music can actually help you work better because it relaxes your brain. So sometimes just listening to some uplifting music on the way into work if you've had a particularly bad morning, if your other half's been giving you hell and the kids have been playing up and all the rest of it, sometimes just listening to a really good kind of pumped up song. I like Pink. I like Pink for the strength that she gives in her songs. But you choose your own artist. Choose the one that kind of resonates with you. And I think time is another thing. Sometimes we forget that a lot of these deadlines and timescales are just plucked out of thin air. It's very rare that a deadline or a timescale in a non-essential, I'm not talking about in hospitals where everything's kind of like crucial, and I'm not talking about life or death situations. I'm talking about, we want to pull together a new campaign and we're thinking of launching it in July. So then the next person says, we're thinking of launching it in mid-June to make sure they've got it all ready in time. And the next person says, we're thinking of launching it the beginning of June because, we want to make sure that we've got time on our side. And then the next person down the line says, middle of May. So sometimes people just pluck these timelines out of thin air. And if you haven't got time on your side during the day, then talk to somebody. Say to somebody, look, I'm really struggling to get this done. I've got X amount done. I need an extra hour or two, or can I have it with you by tomorrow morning? I'll work on it, late tonight or something. There's often compromises that can be made, but we just don't ask. We just don't actually stand up and say, actually, I think I'm going to struggle with that timeline. That doesn't give me enough hours to get it done. And a part of that, I think, is because sometimes we have bosses that say, well, if you can't do it, then what's the point of you working here? Blah, 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 blah. Is that really the kind of person that you want to be working for? Vote with your feet. Find something that's better suited to your skills and talents. We're quite often sucked into the corporate world straight from college or straight from uni, straight from school, and we don't realize that there are more opportunities available to us. We're just kind of stuck in this Groundhog Day of, eat, sleep, work, repeat, and just every day. Okay, so the next one is avoid overloading your day. So don't take on too much. Don't try and be everybody's savior. Don't try and do everything for everybody, because it won't work. Because all that will end up happening is you'll be a doormat. So you won't necessarily be respected more for it. You will be respected more if you get your own work completed and done on time and submitted, and then offer to help somebody else, but not do it for them. Just offer to help, because that's the more sensible thing to do. Because you don't want people just to overload you with work constantly, because that's how people become taken for granted. You lose your value. And number 4, don't be afraid to communicate. That's something that I kind of talk about quite a lot in terms of communication is key. If you don't talk to somebody about it, how are they going to know? We're not mind readers. So when you have an issue, you talk to somebody. When you want to clarify something, you talk to somebody. When you need to get some support, you talk to somebody. And we're not very good at talking at all, considering that we are supposedly the most intelligent, breed of beings on Earth. We don't talk about things anywhere near enough. We have this unique ability to communicate so well with other people, and yet we don't take it. Okay, number 5, IT issues. IT issues are the number one cause of stress in the workplace. I am not surprised at all. IT issues, they happen to all of us. Computers are just machines. Machines break down, and machines will only operate as well as the operator that's inputting the information. And I have had plenty of moments where I have been ready to launch a computer out of the window. Trust me, I get frustrated just like anybody else. But again, I think when that happens, you just have to remember, breathe, hydrate, take a break, take a walk around the block. Take a walk around the block and just listen to a piece of music, because you can't solve anything when you are in that state of not being able to actually um, do anything. You really can't. You're just so angry and full of rage that you just can't, at that point, you can't logically kind of bring it down. But what you need to do is just accept that computers sometimes don't work properly. They get bugs. They get, that part of them breaks down. Sometimes the software is broken. Sometimes the hardware is broken. It's just a thing. And unless it's life or death, the life support machine is not working on my loved one and they're just about to die. In that situation, yes, get upset, get angry, get whatever you need to do. Press that big red button on the wall. But anything else is not life or death. It's just a case of we've just picked the time that this stuff has to be done by, and that's it really. So I just don't think that it's worth getting yourself so head up about, because the bottom line is that it's just a job. And I say that I say that, and I know that some people are kind of like, what do you mean it's just a job? It is just a job, and we trade our service, our time, for money. And there are other jobs, there are other opportunities, and trust me, I know it's happened to me. I've walked out of jobs. I've actually walked out of a really good job and said I can't take it anymore, and I've been made redundant, and I have changed jobs, stayed in one, found another one, a better one, finish one, move on to the next. And amazingly, there's always an opportunity out there. Always. There's always an opportunity out there. It might not be the opportunity that you think, but there's always an opportunity out there. So I have never gone to a recruitment agent yet that has said, we have nothing on our books and we have nobody to fill them. We have nothing on our books. Just imagine that. So imagine you are a professional mechanic, for example, and the job that you get offered is a job in a factory making donuts. It's a job. So what? It might not utilize all your skills, but you know what? It will keep food on the table for the family for the next few weeks until you get something else and something better sorted out. And I do think sometimes that people can be very picky about jobs because they don't fit their idea of what they should be doing, but that's ego-based. That's just about ego. That's all it is. It's not about anything apart from ego. It's about, I can't have somebody looking at me and thinking that I'm doing a job that's lesser than I deserve. Pure ego. And that needs to be left at the door when times are hard. But I think the most important thing for me to stress to you guys today is to tell you that the workplace does not have to be your enemy. Your boss does not have to be your enemy. They can actually be your support network if things are going wrong at home. And the more you share with them, the more opportunity you have of actually surviving this experience with your job intact. Because I can tell you now, if you try and cope with a really stressful job and a breakup from an abuser at the same time, it is incredibly hard to cope with one and perform well in the other, because it's too much, it's overload. But there's always outlets. There's always the groups that I manage. There's always my website. You can go to www.jennyrockcoaching.com, and that's JENNI. Otherwise, you can find me on Facebook. Jenny Rock Coaching on Facebook, and I'm always around. If you want to have a chat, if you want to just send me a DM, not a problem at all. And I hope that this information has helped for you today to somehow alleviate your concerns about work performance and work stress when you're trying to cope with a toxic relationship as well, because it can be done and it can work really well, but you just have to talk to people.